Welcome, everybody. It's Dr. Doug Pernikoff with Dr. Doug's All Things Animal Radio Show, and I have a wonderful co-host, my Miss Cindy Vickers, our trainer and as a behavioralist. And today we have a very special guest, Ms. Page Pardo, and she sounds like she's from New Orleans, a Cajun girl, but I don't think she is.
Oh, you do.
Oh, I do. Okay. We're going to be speaking today about an interesting topic. It has to do with rehabilitation, but in particular, we'll be talking about the industry of what I call the boutique farmer who is developing interest in waterfowl, chickens, and then small mammals and other things. And Paige is right in the middle of this. So we're going to get started. I wanted to have Paige, why don't you say hello to the audience?
Hi, thanks for having me.
Oh, she's so good. Did you see how her voice was so strong? And
please stop. We're not going to do this. We're going to talk to her about what she's doing. She's very cute. So that's what's happening here on the radio.
Well, here's what I wanted to start with. I want everybody to know that Paige started her professional life as an attorney.
Yeah, so please keep that in mind.
I know.
That's right. Don't forget it.
Darn. I had her sign off on a slip releasing me from any responsibility. So I think that's really neat. And you always see stories on the movies and stuff about professional guys and families that take off and give up their lives in New York and the business world, and they go and they start farming.
Green Acres, essentially.
We bought a zoo,
yeah. So I want to know, is that kind of where you came from? I mean, obviously that's a big commitment to go through law school.
Yes.
Not only expense, but time. And then how many years did you work as a lawyer?
I practiced for 10 years.
Oh my God,
yeah,
you're so young.
Oh, Dr. Doug,
Continue.
I know.
No, I practiced for 10 long years. Yeah, I was a corporate tax lawyer and just realized in my mid-30s that I should be doing what I'm passionate about and what I love. And growing up, I always wanted more animals. I wanted to bring frogs in from the yard. You know, I wanted dogs. I wanted everything. And then I wanted to plant edibles. I wanted to plant like big pumpkin vines in the landscaping.
Self-sustaining.
But I grew up in the suburbs in Chesterfield, and I literally didn't even contemplate that farming was a career that was available. It didn't come into my thought process. But I'm glad I practiced law. I enjoyed that for a time, but it just is no longer meant to be my calling. But the great thing is I can apply all that school and everything I learned and everything I practiced for 10 years to my own business.
Sure.
And to jumping through the legal hoops of having a rescue, which is what I'm in the process of starting up now, the nonprofit rescue side of my farm.
You know, we have vet pet rescue out of our facility.
Yes.
And it's a non-for-profit, and we're the only licensed facility. So we have the same ability to do what you're doing, but we're not going at it from your perspective.
Yeah.
And we're focused on dog and cat principally. But yeah, this is just amazing.
I think is amazing.
Yeah.
Right.
So I guess the next logical question is, what did your folks say when you made this change in life?
They thought I was joking for a long time. They really thought, well, what type of law are you actually going to switch to practice then? You're just sick of corporate tax law. So it took some time to convince them. No, I'm really farming, and I got a farming apprenticeship at Earth Dance Organic Teaching Farm in Ferguson, which is an amazing place.
In Ferguson, Missouri?
In Ferguson, Missouri, yeah.
I didn't even know it existed.
And it's wonderful to actually have a teaching farm in the St. Louis area. I started Googling, found it. I'd heard of it before, but how lucky. They have a formal program for a full farming season.
What's the name of it again?
Earth Dance Organic Teaching Farm.
Earth Dance?
Earth Dance, one word.
Oh, okay.
And they do, you can do tours, and if you go to their website, you can learn about it. They have classes that their apprentices go to, but non-apprentices can also participate, and you take field trips to other farms around town. So that really put me in touch with, it taught me the right way to do a lot of growing. And then they have chickens, so I started learning about animal husbandry in a farming context a little bit there. But we also took field trips to other farms, and then it connected me with farmers all over the area. So that was another reason why it was wonderful. But that was when my parents really started saying, okay, and my family members and everybody said, okay, wait, she's serious. She's doing this. She's no longer practicing law, and she's doing this farming apprenticeship. I think the moment they really, really knew I was serious was when my mom was on a trip to Italy, and this was the beginning of her job. She comes with me on every animal pickup. So she was in Italy, and I had no animals at that point, but I had found a property to start leasing, and I called her, and I said, she called me, actually, and I said, what are you doing the weekend after you get back? And she said, I don't think anything. I don't know. And I said, well, do you want to ride to the middle of Illinois with me and pick up 2 miniature Jersey cows in a rented van? I have it all set up. And she said, what? And I said, have a fun trip, Siggy, when you get back. And so that's when everyone really realized I was serious.
How many bouts of therapy did you go through?
You know what? I went through some therapy to make this transition because I was scared myself to actually even come out and say, I want to be a farmer and I want to make this huge transition and I'm going to figure it out and do it.
Well, can we clarify what we mean by farmer here? Because
Yes.
it sounds like Earth Dance is primarily
Growing.
growing food.
Yes.
But they had some chickens.
Yes.
And sounds to me from what we said earlier before we got on the air that you're really more about rehabbing animals, but then you also want to grow food. I'm thinking to
be
feed the animals.
self-sustaining,
Is that-
Yes. No, well, and food for humans. So my mission in starting the farm was really to it's a farm, and I'm just in the process of getting to the point where I'm going to start holding events, but it's a farm where people can come out and learn and meet the animals, see where the food grows, and then have an on-farm dinner using the food grown there and the food from the animals. So that's part of it, along with other events that I'll be having. But I wanted it to be a place where people could come and reconnect with where their food comes from, with a special focus on the animal side of it. Meet the chickens that are laying their eggs. Meet the cows that have provided the milk. And so my focus is on the animal side of things. And then in that, my method of farming with animals is very different than most farmers. I take my chickens to the vet. Dr. Doug knows this very well. I build a wheelchair for a chicken if she needs it. I get x-rays for my chickens if they need it. I keep the special needs ones around. So if I have a scissorbeak chicken that can't pick up food, and I syringe feed her 3-4 times a day, every day. And in doing this, I started posting about it on Instagram as part of just my regular farming experience. This is how I farm. And people were really drawn to it. And I realized that people enjoy hearing about that side of things. And so then people started calling me saying, can you help me with this duck that needs to be rescued? Can you help me with this goose that needs to be rescued? I said, sure. And I started growing my flock, my herd more and more that way. And I enjoy that part of it. I think it even better helps connect people with where their food comes from. Most people, when you mention chicken, think of a package in the grocery store, and I'm just excited to help people remember the animals.
Or I should ask you a sensitive question. Are you vegan?
No, but I was vegan for quite a while, before I was a farmer. Because I was trying to, I have sensitive feelings about that topic myself. I'm still figuring it out where I fall along those lines, but I'm not vegan anymore. I was vegan because I didn't feel comfortable going to the grocery store and buying anything, knowing where it came from, even with the labeling on it, because I don't think our label, right? I don't think the labeling laws don't help with clarity always. Labels can say one thing, but it can hide a multitude of evils. So I was not comfortable knowing where my food came from. Then when I started farming and meeting farmers, now I know where I can source my food from, places where the animals are happy, and namely my own farm. I eat a lot of eggs, but So now I'm not vegan anymore. I do dairy and eggs. I do eat meat again. I don't do any meat on my farm. I do source it from farmers that I know treat their animals well. But I will say that I have a touchy relationship with eating meat because I feel as though if I am going to eat meat, I should be able to raise that animal give it a happy life, him or her a happy life, and then be able to be comfortable with ending that life. And kind of honoring that animal and then utilizing it. And I have not been able to bring myself to do that yet. Instead, I build them wheelchairs and keep them alive and do whatever I can to help them have a great lifestyle, but into old age. So I'm still figuring that all out.
Okay, so do you have both animals that don't need to be rehabbed and animals that do need to be rehabbed?
I do have both. I do have both because I also believe in preserving breeds. I have over 20 breeds of chickens, and some are rare breeds that I do breed, and so you
keep them separated, so there's no interbreeding.
Sometimes, if I'm all of my animals, that's another thing that I enjoy. Keep letting them all hang out together. The llamas hang out with the chickens, hang out with the peacocks, hang out with the bunnies, and they all love each other. And all the chickens do get to hang out with each other. But during a breeding period, I did separate out my Iamsmanis, my Lavender Orpingtons, and let them just breed with each other. So I bred some purebred chickens. Yeah. So I do have an interest in, having animals and breeding some animals, and heritage breeds I enjoy. So I do keep animals around that don't need to be rehabbed as well. But I got into the rehabbing through actually it started with chicks that I got from a hatchery, and when you get 50 chicks from a hatchery, there's almost 100% chance, I would say, that you're going to have a couple that have issues right off the bat, like a scissor beak or something else. And you're going to have ones that might get injured. So that happened to me from day one on the farm. And that's how I got started, because I thought, okay, I just reacted the natural way that I wanted to react to it. And that led me down the path of adding the rehab on. And because as a chicken keeper, until I found Dr. Doug, it's difficult to find veterinarians that know more about chickens than you do as a chicken keeper, because I started staying up all night researching issues when something would happen at 10 p.m. on a Saturday night. One of my chickens would have a prolapse vent, and okay, what do I do now? What's this? And I'd stay up all night researching it and working with the chicken. And then I'd call Dr. Doug and find out more. But until you find it, and a lot of people. Then I'd go to Instagram, and a lot of people on Instagram don't live close to, if they live in the middle of nowhere, they don't live close to a veterinarian that knows about chicken keeping. So we've created a kind of community on Instagram too, where we can go to each other and say, help, this is happening right now. Have you seen this? So I became a chicken, I would say that I became a poultry expert through having to do bumblefoot surgery on my own when something happens, do work on the prolapse vent myself when that happens. And
but you know what we say in the zoo world, I think I've mentioned this on the radio before, is the expert is the one who did it one time before I did.
Right.
So
right.
And to interject another point, when I worked in the zoo, and as I was trained as a zoo vet, and even today as a regular veterinarian, I never suggest that the word expert's hard for me to use for anybody.
And right.
So
I agree. I'm not a chicken expert for sure as far as
I continue to learn from my clients. Or if I'm doing something and Cindy has information, I'm more than open to listen. Or if someone says I do holistic medicine, well, I want to see how that parlays into what I do in traditional medicine. So you have to be
open to learn constantly. Exactly. And that's how I gained the knowledge that I have today, is 100% through learning from other people.
Sure.
Which is, thank goodness I'm doing this in the internet age, because that's where I go, the internet and then the veterinarian. But it's really nice to have a community of other people going through the same thing at the same. There are communities on Instagram and Facebook specifically for scissorbeak chicken keepers. Wow. And
What is that? I don't even know what that is.
It's an abnormal formation of the beak.
Well, I kind of figured that.
Yeah, and
and it,
Oh, you mean like an
Scissors.
X as opposed to fits
yes.
flush?
And so they don't. Some of them are worse than others. Some scissor beaks develop, and they happen from hatching. So sometimes it can happen because of a bad hatch out of the egg. Sometimes it could be from genetics.
or a combination.
Of things and so people don't know what to do, but my scissor beak chicken can't eat on her own. She has to be syringe fed because it's so severe. And I was on Instagram posting about it. Another chicken person found me and said, do you know this other chicken keeper who has a scissor beak chicken? She's going through it at the same time, and we all meet each other and learn from each other, and it's amazing. But
I think it's great. So, and again, that's your whole goal. You want a
Right.
community kind of
Yes.
operation. We're going to take a break in just a moment, and we will be back to continue the discussion. It's really interesting, and you got so much to say. It's great, or you have so much to say. So, Dr. Doug's All Things Animal radio show, along with Cindy Vickers and Page Pardo, and we'll be back in just a moment. Thank you.
Dooby-dooby-doo, where are you? We got some work to do now.
Well, here we are again, Dr. Doug's All Things Animal radio show. We're continuing our discussion. Cindy Vickers and I are talking to Page Pardo, who is telling us an interesting story how she transitioned from normal human being to abnormal human being, and now in charge of all kinds of rescue opportunities.
I was always crazy. I'm just owning it now.
Hey, we all own it. If you're not crazy, you're not interesting. So one of the things that I think you had brought up, but so you went from making a real living with money.
Yeah.
How do you propose in general that you're going to make this into a money-making opportunity that'll sustain you?
Or even it wasn't money making. How do you even,
Or sustainable, right?
Yeah.
Are you going to be a non-for-profit organization? So you're going to have grants and stuff? And
It's in the process of having two separate entities. One is a for-profit entity, which I already have operating, and the other is a nonprofit entity. The original plan was just to have the for-profit, but I started doing so much work that fell under the nonprofit realm with the rehab and the outreach that I'm going to go ahead and form the nonprofit side of things, so people can help out. If people are interested in helping out when I go rescue a duck from their neighborhood and they want to help sponsor that duck and that duck's care, I want them to have an appropriate means of doing that, and a place to find me as a farm animal rescuer and rehabber. So that the nonprofit side of things will help sustain the care. It is expensive, very expensive to rehab and care for animals. So that the plan for that is to be able to accept donations and grants.
Yeah.
Well,
and the for-profit side of things is the operating farm that is going to begin having events where people come out. We'll have guest chefs and we'll have farm dinners. People can tour the farm, meet the animals.
that could be part of your, as a person with 7 years of experience running a not-for-profit, I'm so interested in this, and I'm very interested in it from a not-for-profit point of view. But I heard you say the outreach, but I did expand on what outreach are you doing?
Well, I guess I don't know if that's the appropriate word.
Or hoping to do.
Yeah, I don't know if that's the appropriate word, but as part of my plan on the for-profit side was to have people come out and to educate people about, in a fun way, about the way you can farm with animals in a happy, humane way, and the way that they can have it in their backyard as well.
Hey, I want to ask you a question. So 4-H has been in the rural community forever.
Yes.
It'd be cute if you came up with like a similar program, but a different name.
I would love that.
That brought in the, like
that's
regular
great.
residential communities
Right.
and
Well,
stuff.
I didn't even know what 4-H was growing up, which is
I thought
sad.
it was four
But I
hiccups.
think but in 4-H, don't you have like your own cow and
You
your
do.
own home?
Right.
You're talking about having your own facility.
Well, some people do raise. Technically, I believe in 4-H they'll have say a pig that they raise, but a farmer will keep that pig for them, and the kids will get to go out and visit the pig,
help a little bit,
but the farmer will keep it, and then the pig goes to be auctioned off for slaughter.
Well, if I understand correctly, like communities like even in Kirkwood and Webster Groves and places like that, a lot of people are developing little farmettes, or at least they're managing chickens.
Sure.
And now
backyard chickens.
Well, I think
It's
pigs,
huge.
even the small pigs, miniature pigs, are allowed now by ordinance and stuff. So I think the more you build in this into a legitimate community concept, and then you help with these people legislate to get the right, especially with your law background, so you can start to get these things accepted into these other communities, like
Definitely.
God knows where there's land, Frontenac,
Right.
Ladue. I don't know if it's...
I would love if it could go hand in hand with really having education. And we've talked about this a lot with dogs, that if you're going to have a rescue group, if you're going to have a dog, if you're going to open a dog park, somehow marry that with some education about how can you do this in a way so that you understand what are the needs of this animal, how do you take care of them, if it's a dog, how do you train them and manage them.
Well, she could have camps and everything.
And that's part of, so I have a couple of websites coming out, and one will be for my overall farm, which is called Barnival, like Barn Carnival, because that's how the animals, I want them to feel there every day, like they're living at the most fun animal carnival ever. But I have backyard chickens are so big right now, and it's an easy. I would say it's the easiest entry into having an animal that can help provide food for you in your backyard. But it's I'm taking it from a different tactic in that I want people to know it's not really 100% easy throwing a chicken in your backyard. You do, if you want to do it in a way that's best for the chicken, you need to. It will take some work, maybe.
And you need to know how much space is it. I know that it's really, if you don't have a adequate housing and you don't clean that, the smell can be horrible.
The smell can be bad. They get all sorts of, chickens are so susceptible to diseases, to all sorts of parasites. And you have to be ready. I think some people think, well, I'll just put a chicken in the backyard and then that'll collect the eggs. But they are, I will say, very likely to get a whole range of things. There are parasites that they can get from wild birds, and wild birds will come into the yard and bring it. And you have to know, if you know about it, it's easy to manage, but you have to be ready and willing to do that.
Well, and my understanding is that you can't just necessarily just get some chickens and put them together, that there is interflock behavior, and that this pecking order is a real thing.
It is.
So
and how long do they lay eggs?
Yeah, is always understanding animal husbandry means that you understand the natural history of, it could be a specific breed of chicken that comes from a tropical versus a non-tropical area. I mean, there's so many factors that people don't realize. You're right.
Yeah.
And the other thing you and I have been talking about is like coming out and setting up a quarantine program for new animals.
Yes, that's so important.
That's so critical. I mean, zoos do it very intently because they just can't afford for something bad to happen. But you have your resident birds that might retain a certain parasite or something, and they're fine with it until a new animal comes in. The new animal is super stressed anyway, and that's exposure makes them more vulnerable.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
if I want to have, let's just talk about the chickens for 1 second. But if I wanted to have chickens in my backyard, and let's say I want, 2 to 4, like reasonably, how much space do I need?
Oh gosh, well that's a tough question. People, I would say maybe it's a controversial answer to that question because people have vastly different beliefs on it. I mean, some people will keep 2 to 4 chickens in a small A-frame chicken house, low to the ground, very just a few feet long with a covered box on one end. Now
but then to go out and walk around,
no grazing
I wouldn't even consider
now some
chickens that wouldn't walk. Let's suppose I want them to be able to walk around.
If they want to be able to walk around, just a normal sized backyard would be fine for that many chickens.
But what do you call normal? You have normal in the city, and you have normal in Chesterfield.
You could have a fairly small backyard, and that would still be fine for that many chickens. You would just need to. They might eat down your grass if you had a very small backyard, and you would have to be ready to supplement with. You could supplement with mealworms, and you definitely are feeding them chicken food anyway.
I didn't even know that chickens ate grass. I did not know that.
Oh yeah, they would. If you had a small small yard, they would keep your grass mowed for you, or potentially just get rid of it altogether.
Yeah, well, I mean, goats too.
Yeah,
Cattle.
depending. Now, but
wasn't going to have cattle.
Yeah.
hey, I have mini Jerseys. They're the perfect backyard cow. They're wonderful,
And they're milk producers.
They're milk producers. They produce a lot of milk, and they follow me around like puppy dogs. They are wonderful. They cuddle.
That's very good.
What's the
I
strange?
mean, a man would do all those things for you too. But, I mean,
I'm too busy with the cows and the chickens.
I got you.
What is maybe the most unusual animal that you have right now, or that you've ever had?
have you ever had a deer, baby deer?
I will say I have helped a baby deer before who had lost its way from its mama. But the thing about wildlife, I'm in the process of working towards applying for a wildlife rehabber's permit, because on the farm you end up with a lot of wildlife that wanders in, and I'm fine. I want us to coexist with that wildlife too. So, for instance, we have possums and raccoons all over the place. I share some of my eggs with the possums because that's all they want, and then they won't bother my animals. They would eat a chicken if they were really hungry, but they get a few of the eggs, and that's fine. But sometimes we have one that wanders in with a broken leg, and so I'll either take that to, I've taken injured raccoons to the wildlife centers here in town. But I also know I've learned about rehabbing myself now, as we know, and we're talking. So I do animal behavior and animal needs. So I have worked with little deer before, although and then they were reunited with the wild with their mamas. But you do have to, in order to work with wild animals, you need to get that wild animal rehabber's permit, and that's something I specifically really want to do so I can do more work along those lines.
Well, this is getting to be just like Grey's Anatomy, because they did save a deer one time.
Did they?
Yes.
Oh,
in the
oh
back
my
of the truck.
gosh.
It was a learning experience.
Well, now she has a helper vet too. So
I do. That's
who's willing
right.
to do it.
Baby deer they're adorable, and they drink milk out of a bottle, and they make little noises like sheep when they're hungry. So,
A helper vet?
She has a wonderful veterinarian
I
who
do.
wants to help her develop her skills.
Yeah, he wants
But
to
I-
help me with this, get the wildlife
Just
rehab
like Grey's
started.
Anatomy.
Yeah.
It's the Grey's Anatomy of the farming world over here at my
So
farm.
we're going to break again, but I just wanted to, I'll leave and we'll come back to this topic, but I know that you know this, and yet you don't know it because I've been in rehab and stuff for dogs and cats. Before you know it,
Thought
you're
you were
going to have
saying you.
it's endless.
Oh, I know.
You're going to have a million animals.
There's some stats on that that say something like, for a dog shelter, if you opened up a dog shelter, it doesn't even matter how big it is, within something like 2 to 4 days, it is completely full, and it will never stop.
I know. Well, let's take a quick break. Dr. Doug's All Things Animal Radio Show. Cindy Vickers, our wonderful co-host, and Page Pardo, our wonderful guest. We'll be right back. Thank you.
Yes, we can count on you, Scooby-Doo. I know we'll catch that villain.
Welcome back, everybody. It's Dr. Doug Pernikoff of Dr. Doug's All Things Animal Radio Show. And Cindy and I have been talking with Page Pardo about her wonderful passion and love for critters and for farming, small farming. And again, I think what excites me the most is that I think there's so much interest, even in cityscapes. They used to do produce on the roofs.
Yes.
And
Still do.
Still do.
Food Roof downtown is an amazing, amazing place.
Yeah.
And they have chickens on the roof there.
Oh, really?
Yes, they have
one of
a
my friends
large
used to do
chicken
this.
coop up there, and it's gorgeous.
Yeah, so I think this is really neat that it's getting more and more integrated into our residential space, our city space. And I think this is where the great value you have is that to build this community, draw from the rural, and you kind of put these things together.
Yes.
So I think we just want to continue just hearing. You have so many interesting. I wanted to ask you about food plots. So you are doing plantings.
I am.
And have areas, part of your farm will be that kind of agriculture.
Yes.
And obviously, in part to, I can think like pickled eggs going to Asian restaurant cuisine
Sure.
and stuff like
Yeah.
that. So at some
Yeah,
point,
I just started pickling some of my eggs, but I grow the farm does have it's a diverse farm, and part of the whole idea is that we are a full ecosystem. The animals play their part and they interact and provide wonderful fertilizer for the food plot. The chickens love to eat the scraps from the food plot. And then we can integrate it all together. And it's a great way for people who live in the city to come out and see how you can do it. It can be scaled up to a large scale or scaled down smaller. I'm still small scale. I'm very small scale. I'm on 5 acres right now, but it can be scaled down even further than that. But the chickens rotational graze with the cows, and they follow the cows on the pasture, and so the pastures stay healthy, and they eat the bugs and spread the poop, and then everybody, the cows and the chicken, everybody loves the greens from the extra greens, and then humans as well. So it's really a fully functioning food system.
I think that's really, really interesting that you can do that.
So you think this just all started because when you were a kid who loved animals? I mean, I get that. I mean, honestly, I can completely relate
no
to
human
that.
friends. She was alone.
I was a sad little girl with my pumpkin plant and my frog in my hand.
She's sitting in the corner at school and nobody will play with her because she's the weird Page.
But, I think this is such an inspirational story to people who have dreams, because really you're saying, well, because one of my questions to you off the air was, well, how do you take care of these animals if you're not a vet and you have a donkey and the donkey's gets hurt? And, the answer is I can call a vet, I get on the internet, I read every single thing there is. What does everybody else do to learn? And then you have this community with other people who have experiences, and you share your information. I mean, that is how people learn. So,
and it takes anyone can do it, but it's time consuming. I don't sleep very much these days.
What time do you get up in the morning?
Well, actually, I get up around 7, but I'm up out on the farm most nights until like 1 or 2 in the morning.
But I think if you really want to be a true farmer, you got to get up at 5.
Well, next season, I probably will be starting next spring because my cows will be, hopefully, if all goes well, having their calves and milking. So that will be my first season milking. And my mornings may be getting earlier and earlier, but I'm up late until 1 or 2 actually feeding the special needs animals right now after I put everyone else to bed, feeding them one more go round. So I'm trying to get my schedule switched around a little bit so I can get up at 5 maybe. And
are you doing this all by yourself?
I have, I started off doing it all by myself, but I have a lot of volunteer friends that will come out, and that was very helpful at the start, and I've since hired 2 employees. One's
her mom and
one is my
dad.
mom, one's my dad. Yeah, right. They are wonderful. My parents, thank goodness for them. They are wonderful supporters. Without them, I couldn't do it. In fact, you asked, making the transition. I'm living with my parents right now as an adult woman because I need to put every resource I have into taking care of the animals and having the property and finding a larger property at this point. But I do have 2 helpers right now, and one is in charge of working with the animals, and one is in charge of working on the plant side of things. And without them, I would be going even more crazy than I am. So they are amazing. And their names, it's Jacob and Maddie. And Maddie's on the farm right now, actually taking care of everybody and hand feeding some of the ones that need special hand feedings. And so, and giving me a night off occasionally. So I hadn't taken a night off from putting everyone to bed and being there at bedtime in over a year. And Maddie thankfully came on board, and she can put everybody to bed now. But I count all 150 animals every night. Everyone goes inside, so they're out of the way of predators.
Do they each have a name?
They do.
Oh
yeah.
my God.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they do.
You're going to have to create a directory.
I know.
Or at least a spreadsheet.
It takes a while for people to get up to speed when they get on board, remembering everyone's names. But it happens fairly quickly because all the animals interact with you.
Well, I have to tell you, when I worked in Sri Lanka in a conservation program, I had 3...
Whoa, stop.
Wait a minute.
What?
I worked in conservation. We were trapping primates, wild primates. And my staff...
I did not know this.
Yeah, my staff, I had 3 indigenous people. They were trained on the job, and they would go and view each, and they'd follow in the jungle, and they knew where their groups were. There were different groups they were assigned to, and there were 600 primates in these study group, and they actually knew every single animal by name, by appearance, and they kept little index cards with little facial features or something, and they could name every single animal with a specific name.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, I can't believe this. It looks like a monkey to me. But
when you spend enough time with the animals, with a group of animals, it's you can.
yeah. Or I have another friend who works in Africa, and she's been there for 20-something years, and she lives alone in the jungle with her attendants, some pygmies that work with her, and she studies elephants, and she knows over 1,000 elephants
Oh, my
by
gosh.
face, by feature.
That's
when
amazing.
they come through her
That's
area,
amazing.
she
Yeah.
she knows exactly who she's looking at. Which,
Wow.
but
That's
you're
just
right.
incredible.
It's something
And
that biologists
cool.
can
That's
do.
really cool. Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
I love that.
So
Yeah, so I think the part where you get to the
Sri Lanka.
the creating your own beef and chicken on the farm might be a struggle when it has a name and you know them well.
Well, yeah, people when you go to farm classes, and I've been through many, not just Earth Dance, I've also been through some farm classes with the local extensions, and everyone tells you that farmers don't have pets. Farmers don't have pets. They beat this into your head. And I feel like I've said all along, this farmer is going to have pets, and I'm going to figure out a way to do it. Because pets are expensive, and they're not producing for you by kind of definition, I guess. But
Much like a spouse.
that depends on the spouse.
Oh my gosh.
Well, I understand what you're saying, and I think that's really important.
I do have pets. I need to come up with some sort of slogan about farmers that do have pets, or you can be a farmer with pets. And I would say from day one in all these classes, I'm going to have pets. I'm going to figure out a way. There are ways to name your animals, and maybe, okay, if you have a farm where you're using them for meat, it's difficult. I wouldn't name them then, maybe, because I can't bring myself to go down that road.
Yeah, you have
but
a dinner with Pootsy the cow.
yeah. Well, actually, that's my mom tells the story. My mom doesn't eat a lot of meat. She grew up, and my grandfather was a doctor, and for the town, he was the town doctor in one of the far out suburbs at the time of the St. Louis area, and he would bring home a cow sometimes and put it in the yard, bring home a goat, and they'd name them. They always named them after family members. And then one night he said, "Oh, poor Aunt Bessie," and they'd be eating steaks. So my mom doesn't like steak. My mom doesn't like chicken. She doesn't eat much meat. But I named most of my animals after family members, taking after my grandfather. But my mom said, if you do it, you have to promise that we're never going to eat any of them. So I just say, "Oh, it's Aunt Bessie's eggs we're eating right now." She doesn't even like that. But we never eat the Aunt
Well,
Bessie
that's going to
from
be
my
a
farm.
forever dilemma for you.
Yeah, it is going to be a forever dilemma. It's difficult.
Well,
it's difficult.
I think if you're somebody who would make a wheelchair for a chicken, you would find it difficult to hurt an animal.
Yeah,
And it's pretty hard to kill them and not hurt them.
It is. In fact, I'm struggling with. I've been to a poultry processing clinic and the reason I was inspired to go to it, where I did butcher chickens, was after I had a chicken pass away, and it was sudden, and I needed to know what was wrong, because
Well, you have a herd situation.
Right.
Well, you're talking autopsy.
And so I did a chicken autopsy necropsy afterwards, but I wanted to better know, first of all, I kept that chicken alive probably in misery longer than I needed to, because I was bound and determined to get this chicken better if I could, right? And I have trouble even dealing with a chicken that is in pain and needs to be put down. So I thought, I need to learn how to do it in a humane way if I need to, first of all. And I need to get a great handle on the chicken anatomy. And so I went through this clinic, and now I feel like I have a pretty good handle on some important parts of chicken anatomy that you can look at if you need to tell if something has gone wrong. But as far as taking it all the way to butchering anybody that I've named, no, I will have serious problems. I don't think that'll happen.
Feel safer on a date.
Another show.
Yeah. So my farm is not going to go down that road. I don't think.
Bad date, Harry. Okay.
Wow.
Well, we're just about to finish our segment. And again, I just want to thank you. It's been really, really interesting. And we haven't even got started. There's so much we're going to have you back as you develop your story.
Yes.
And your program, and hopefully I'll get to be involved, and Cindy will go out
I am
there.
so interested in it. I truly am.
Yeah, it's really great.
Well, thanks for having me on. This is
No problem. We
really
have one more
wonderful.
little recap segment, so we'll be back in just a moment. Dr. Doug's All Things Animal radio show, and Cindy's going to give us some events ongoing, and we'll do a little recap in just a moment. Thank you so much. Well, here we are in our segment 4 of our show. It's been a great show. Our special guest, Page Pardo. I just love that name. So, Paige, I wanted to thank you again for a great discussion. And again, do you want people to have your email or something? What is that?
My email is pagepardo@gmail.com is the best way to contact me right now, which is just PAGEPARDO@gmail.com. I'm working on getting the websites up for the farm, but shortly here I will have a website within the next day or two at the Chicken Set, SET, like the fashionable set, only for chicken
With
lovers.
the.
With the at
Yeah.
the start of it. Yeah, you can find more information on me there within the next
Wonderful.
probably 24 hours.
Yeah,
But
join the
feel
community.
free to join the community, and feel free to, in the meantime, contact me on my email.
And I think
And if you're going to join a community, go to Dr. Doug's Radio and
Oh,
join
yeah.
our community.
Yeah, that's a
Please,
good
on
point.
Facebook. Yeah.
Thank you, Cindy.
You're
And
welcome.
Cindy, I just want everybody to know real quick, because she's going to give us some events, but just so I don't forget, Cindy is available through our clinic, 636-530-1808, the Clarkson Wilson Veterinary Clinic, and she's an excellent trainer, and she loves doing it. So if you have behavioral issues or just basic training, I think you even have a puppy class coming up, don't you?
I do have a puppy class coming up but it'll be in the middle of June in Maplewood.
Oh, okay.
So look around.
Okay.
And
I
we
would
should
love
do
to
one
be
at
your
the
little
clinic.
puppy. Go ahead.
All right, you ready? So there's a lot of events going on this weekend. I'm going to kind of skim over the ones that are today, because you already know about them if they're today, but some of them go through Sunday and go on. So in the interest of time, Purina just has a ton going on at Purina Farms in Gray Summit. There's greyhound racing, there's an all-breed dog show, there's the Australian Terrier Club.
All this weekend?
Yes, there is, let me see, Purina, there's also some other things. But the other things I don't know what else is going
So
on.
go to their site
Yeah, I
and
got too
find
many
out.
pieces of paper here. But also...
How's the traffic, Cindy?
There's something called Even Chance Pitbull Advocacy Resource and Rescue, and they have an event from 12 to 4 Sunday, and that's at a place called Swing Around Funtown on Skinker Lane in Fenton. So it is a fundraiser for them. And Gateway Grizzlies have their Bark in the Park, which is at the GCS Ballpark on Grizzly Bear Road in Sauget, Illinois. That's a fundraiser for them. And last but not least, 5A's Animal Shelter has a fundraiser, which is also their annual Bark in the Park in Godfrey, Illinois, from 12 to 5 on Sunday. Go to that. And then...
Is that tomorrow, Sunday?
Tomorrow, Sunday.
Okay.
And then the Great Aussie Spectacular is from 12 to 3 at the Museum of the Dog. So
Thank you
you've got
very, very
plenty
much.
of places you can go if you want to do anything that has to do with a dog. We got to find some cat ones.
Yeah, and if you need to get a hold of me at the Clarkson Wilson Veterinary Clinic, 636-530-1808. I want to thank everybody again. It was a great show, and we will definitely have you back in the future.
Yeah,
Wonderful. Okay.
definitely.
And if there are no other questions, we'll see you next week. We have another very special guest,
Oh, we do.
and we're going to hide him and not tell him the name.
Okay.
Oh,
He's got
suspense.
loads of stories. He's a great guest.
Great. Thank you. Bye-bye.